Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today I've got an interview here with Jay Kirkpatrick. We're going to talk about his new game, Sniper Kill Confirmed, which is on Kickstarter right now and will be ending here pretty soon. So we wanted to get a quick little interview in to talk about the game and see, a little bit about the design process, the intent of the game, the genesis of the game, things like that. So welcome to the show, Jay.
Hey Mo, how you doing? Thanks.
Good. Good, hanging in there so far. I know it's late for you, so I want to try to keep it quick
Yeah, yeah,
and
sure.
get to the point here for because there is a time difference if you don't already pick up on Jay's accent. He's not on the east coast of the United States. He's a little further east than that. So,
Yeah.
where are you at right now?
So I'm in the UK, somewhere in sunny Selsey, which is sort of near Portsmouth, if anyone recognises that in the UK. So yeah.
Well, it's a little misnomer right now that it's sunny because it's definitely not sunny right there.
No, no, it's pitch black and it's cold.
Yeah, because it's real late, and I do
Yeah,
appreciate you staying up late to do this interview.
yeah,
But
that's okay. It's no worries.
let's just jump right into it here. Now you got Sniper Kill Confirmed, which is not your first game. You've got a couple other games already under your belt, but
Yep.
let's talk about this one here. You got a sniper game. What was the idea? What generated this whole thing for you? Because that's not something that we see a lot of games on.
Yeah, sure. So I actually had the idea after I went to see American Sniper at the cinema, and just thought, this is a great movie, and just sort of got the gears going, thinking, this would make a great solitaire game because a sniper is um, almost lonesome by themselves going through taking out targets. So I just thought this would be fascinating to do after seeing American Sniper, and after that I started reading up about snipers, and then I started researching about sniper solitaire games, which in a pure solitaire sense I couldn't really find anything because I wanted the game to be from the point of view of the sniper. So yeah, so that sort of seeing that film just generated an idea to do it, but it was thinking how to do it was the big question.
So, what are the challenges that you faced? And for anybody who's not already picked up on it, you have the early copy of the game right over your right shoulder there, as well as
Yep.
your pining dog there is not getting enough attention. It sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. I apologize about that. Uh,
No.
he's a little puppy, and yeah, he's
What kind of dog?
uh, he's um he's a little Jack Russell, bless him. So
Oh, nice,
yeah,
nice.
he's a little bit yappy now and again. Yeah, so the challenge was, the thing is with it, in reality, a sniper is going to sit there for maybe hours upon end, waiting for their target to come. And I was thinking, well, how can I capture that in a game? Because that could be pretty boring, just sat, just sat there and nothing happening.
Sure.
So it was sort of this idea of it had to be an abstract design from that point of view. So um, in the game, you'll take out enemies and move to new zones. But it's abstracted in the sense that when you're moving to a new zone, you could have been in that zone for many hours. That you could have been there for an hour or more. So that it's kind of taking away from the sense that you know the feeling of sitting there for a long time taking out targets. But I had to kind of get this idea of, well, I need action in the game, and it'd be a very boring game if we just sat there and no enemies appeared at all. So it was this thing of, okay, we'll get the enemies, and then I'll do it in zones because the game works on zones. But in terms of the time, each zone you could be, it could be multiple hours that you're in that zone, and then you move through those zones.
Yeah, and that's a great point. If you're going to do something like this, where the name of the game is patience and
Yeah,
waiting, hours, days,
Mm.
on target to
Yeah,
try to get that one target that you're looking for. It is very, very trying on your patience and everything. But
yeah,
for a gamer, you have to abstract all that out, and you want to, like you said, get into the action. And as far as using anything, because you jumped right into modern, you didn't you've kept it pretty general. There's no nations involved. It's just, you're whoever you want to be for whatever nation you want to be. You didn't go with like a historical background on it, like a World War II setting or any other setting. Why was that you went with more of a generic versus a targeted historical setting?
yeah, sure. So so the reason was that I when I first designed the game and got the idea of it going, it was almost a sense of, well, I'll get the main design down in terms of how this is going to work, but at that point, I wasn't actually sure whether I was going to be, modern, based on modern combat, World War II, etc. So it was kind of the modern aspect of it was born from not knowing where to go with it. But then I got the design down solid and thought, well, I think this is edging more towards a sniper in modern combat because, it was kind of the locations I was first going with is like jungle, the countryside, desert, and ruined city. And then when I do my play testing, I sort of just take stock images just for my own personal use. And a lot of those images were sort of modern. So I was getting enemy hostiles and I could find pictures for that. And I thought, right, okay, I'm going to aim this at a modern setting. Also, slightly um, going to playing any sniper games on a PC. So, Call of Duty, for instance, it's an arcade Twitch shooter, so it's not realistic.
Mhm.
But in that Call of Duty 4 a long time ago, which is like 2007, I think, there was a mission in that game called All Gillied Up, and that was an extreme mission where you had to like crawl through behind enemy lines, and that just started. All of that started to come into the game, and I thought, yeah, I definitely want to do this in a modern setting. I will say that since I've done it in one setting, I've had so many messages from people saying, please, please, can you do one on World War II and things like that. So it's, yeah, because obviously, I love World War II as much as anyone else, but
Mhm.
I think I think the design allows for many periods, um, and that was something I was conscious of in the first place, is making sure that, well, if I make the design open enough to use it in different theatres, then we could build upon that,
Mhm.
which is something I'm quite pleased with in the design. Actually, it allows for that. So even though this first issue is in a modern setting, it definitely will open up for World War II, maybe even World War One. You never know. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and the interesting thing there is then you have the framework kind of laid out for you as far as what the settings were. If you're going to follow one or two or three or whatever, however many historical snipers, you already have the setting that they were in, plus the historical outcomes and the events they were part of that you can build around. With this one here, with the modern, one thing I was kind of surprised to see that you chose not to. Maybe it was, we could talk about that here.
yeah,
Maybe it was a little more complex than you wanted to add in, but there's no ISR, no random events, things like that that could change things up, especially for the modern sniper. Those are all tools that you'd expect to see in a modern situation.
yeah. That's a good question. So um, I did have a version where I had random events in the game, and I just felt it was too powerful. Um, and then I almost, I was toying with the idea. Well, I could put in random events, but they would be very, very soft. But then it just didn't. I just didn't feel it flowed with the game. Um, so for instance, in the game, in the radio comms phase, you draw a card. If it's a fire card, you potentially can get an airstrike, which will give you 15 morale points, and that really helps the player. So I didn't want anything sort of random in the sense that a massive something happens and all enemies are destroyed, or you take loads of wounds, and that I wanted to build this tension in the game, this slow build up of tension of I'm getting more wounds, I'm trying to manage those, and then in the game you take critical wounds and you can't get rid of those, and you can only take 2 of those. Anything over that and you're killed in action. So I think if we had any sort of other things like random events in there, it would sort of knock on against that. So I kind of wanted to leave it as a pure sort of tension building game, which is what I feel it's like, because by the time you get towards your end zone, you will probably have 1 or 2 critical wounds, and your other wounds are still building up. So yeah, that was definitely a design, on purpose, that I didn't want too much randomness in the game. And also, although the game is a little bit on rails in the sense that you're rolling your dice to shoot, you're moving to zones, but the player also has decisions to make. So, for instance, when you move to a new zone, you need morale points, and it's up to the player when they play a movement card to go to that zone. Because, for instance, when you go to a new zone, you draw a location card. If there was a tripwire or a claymore, and you haven't got the correct, you haven't got a card in your hand to disable that or to help you, because you played a movement card when you didn't have too many cards in your hand, that's really going to hurt you. So there is sort of decisions in there, when should I play this card, and etc. So yeah, I think that's what I've got to say about that one.
Yeah. Plus, the other thing too is if you do a move, you're doing a regular movement, you're going to generate sound, and that's going to, if there's patrol that you're trying to evade, they'll follow you because they're going to hear you. Whereas you can play the crawl and you can get past them, you can sneak past them, which I think is kind of neat too, because that's the whole point of sniping is stealth, and getting past everybody unknown or unseen, and then not leaving any trace behind, and then taking out your HVT and then moving on, exfilling out of the area. Now, did you ever think about with this just doing, and this would probably be very boring for a lot of people to sit there and do this, but have you ever thought about maybe just doing a reconnaissance where instead of taking out a target, they had to just videotape it or take a picture of it or verify that the target was on site, and then maybe pass it on higher, and they're going to take the entire complex out with a JDAM or something like that?
Yeah. So in the initial design process, I did think about that. I thought, there could be some mechanic where, you've got to scout out the area first and see what we're dealing with before we go into the mission. But I just couldn't get something down that I thought gelled with the game. So I didn't go down that route. I think that would, make a very interesting setup for the game, but from a personal sort of design point of view, I just couldn't pin it down to something that I liked.
Yeah, well, I got an idea already for you for that. You could do something like that, and then you can merge that with Scream Aim Fire in a modern setting, and
Yeah,
that's what the guys who are carrying out the ground mission while you're on sniper oversight, which would be kind of neat, or
yeah,
Overwatch, I
that'd be
should
really
say.
cool. Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
as
Sorry.
far as future plans now, are you looking at already working on anything else with the sniper series? Just right now, just thoughts, like we are
Yeah,
talking about with the historical side.
so working on World War II kill confirmed. So this, not to confuse anyone, but World War II kill confirmed is where you play as Private Jackson. So you're not a sniper, you're a World War II soldier of the 101st Airborne. But it's using the same mechanics, the zones, cards, and the reason it's not a World War II sniper, is that I wanted to develop the system to work in other sort of game types. So um, in World War II Kill Confirmed, there's a lot more sort of in your face action. So a lot more sort of infantry on infantry combat, maybe taking out Panther 4 with the bazooka. Um, and in that game, you're getting orders from your NCO. So there's sort of, it's built upon on the mechanics of that. And then there's D-Day Kill Confirmed, which is very early stages, and then some World War II sniper stuff that I can't really talk about at the moment, but definitely got the gears going. But yeah, again, a lot of messages saying please do a World War II sniper game, and I'm like, yeah, but you know, let sniper come out first. Sniper
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
And like we were talking about that's right now on Kickstarter. And for those unfamiliar with it, it's also on pre-order from Compass. But right now, Compass has it on the Kickstarter, which is what they do towards the end before the game is delivered out. They'll put it on Kickstarter to try to reach out to more of a fan base, more people outside the fan base, I should say, for Compass. They go onto the Kickstarter. Maybe there's some solitaire gamers out there and they're scrolling for a solitaire game and I didn't know this one, because maybe they're not familiar with Compass. They go ahead and they kickstart it, and then a couple weeks later the game arrives, which is pretty fantastic. Now, what do you think of the final? You've got the final right there on the table behind you. What do you think of the final quality of the game?
Yep, I think it's fantastic. So I've actually had this game for a little while, and yeah, I mean, as a designer, it's kind of an amazing thing to see your game from bits of paper laid on your table and notes going into something that's boxed up and full production. So yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think players are going to sort of feel that they are a sniper, because the artwork, the tension the game builds. So yeah, I mean, I'm super proud of it. I think Compass done a great job, and yeah, it was fantastic to work with them as well, because they were very easy to work with. And Bruce Yerin, who done a lot of the artwork on this, he was great to work with as well. And he was saying to me, and I really want to capture the spirit of a sniper behind enemy lines. So I think we managed to do that. So yeah, I think I think they'll be pleased with it, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. And Bruce does great work. He always does a fantastic job with any project he's part of. Um, as far as people who are on the fence right now, what would you say, people that are looking at the game, thinking about it, what type of gamer that will it appeal to, and what type of gamer will it not appeal to, do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think if you're on the fence about it, I would say that if you want a solitaire experience, in the sense that something that's not too deep, but it's giving you enough decisions and enough action to keep you engaged in the game and to keep you coming back to the game. So that's something I found when I was designing, that all this is quite addictive. Actually, I want to go again. I want to get that long range shot. I want to get these kill points and so on. I would say if you're a gamer that's into massive tactical scale, massive maps, days upon days of campaigns, this isn't the game for you. This is sort of mission will take about an hour, even less than that once you've got the game down properly. So it's a quick fire game that you can really get into. Yeah, I mean, the other thing I would say is that if you're a fan of games that have cards, then you'll definitely like this game, because there's lots of cards in the game, and you never know what's around the corner as well. So because the mechanic in the game of location cards, when you move into a new zone, you're flipping a location card, and it's almost brings this aspect of, am I safe? Are we undetected? Have we come across any traps left for us? So if you're a fan of not knowing what's going to happen and a high tension game, then I think, yeah, players, you would definitely enjoy this one for sure.
Yeah, and it's kind of similar for those who are not familiar with it and have played other games from Compass along these lines, like any of Greg's games. Greg Smith, he has these games that are there are decisions that you have to make throughout it, but the game is it's structured in a way where it's very easy to follow along, but you still have decisions to make. Just like yours is very structured. You know where you're going. You're going
Yeah,
from zone 1 through 6. In
yes,
zone 5 is where you're going to go for your target, and then zone 6 your exfil. But you have a really clearly defined path. But getting there, you have to make some decisions along the way, and it creates a narrative, which I think is the neat part. If you like that style of game, I think this is definitely something that will fit right into you because you're using that theater of the mind, as I always call it. You're
yeah,
generating your own story as you're playing the game.
yeah, definitely. And Greg was definitely a big influence on some of my designs because the guy's a machine. he
He
just
is.
he just it just churns them out. But like you say, there's I'm a massive fan of that narrative and thinking, okay, building up a picture in your head. This is what's happening, and this is you know almost like a computer game in the sense that you're being drawn into it, and for that hour or however long you're playing, you're actually there behind enemy lines with your sniper rifle, trying to stay quiet. Um, so yeah, it's definitely like you say with the zones, it's definitely on rails. So there's no sort of well, I can move around this way or this way, but it's giving you those decisions that I mentioned earlier about whether to play a normal movement card or a cruel card, and that's down to just the luck of the draw. Um, and like you say, if you use a normal movement card, then enemies will detect you. So you've got to imagine, if you've taken out a target, you've got enough to move into the next zone. If you're moving normally, then you're generating noise, rustling of the bushes, and so on. And enemies, even though they're sort of tracking you, that they could hear you rustling, and they don't exactly know where you are, but they know right there they are. Let's go for them, kind of thing. And that was something else in the game is the zone boxes. So you've got long, medium, and short range. And the idea behind that is if you miss a shot, hostiles move towards you. Um, but it's abstract in the sense it's not just I've missed a shot and they come towards me. It's you've taken a shot, they can't work out where you are, so they're trying to they haven't been hit and they're trying to press forward to flank you out. So they could be flanking you slightly, you know. So it's definitely abstract in that sense, but it again brings that tension in as oh god, these guys are getting closer and closer and closer. I really do need to take them out before I get in trouble. And things like that. A lot of Greg's games have sort of this moving from long, medium to close, and that sort of I definitely took a lot of inspiration from his designs like that. And every time he brings out a game, I look at it and think, I wish I'd designed that.
Yeah.
I say it all the time, but it's just very sleek but simple but fun at the same time, which is something that I think I tried to capture as well.
Yeah, games like that are they have an elegant design to them where they're very easy to approach, they're very easy to play, and once you get your head wrapped around the procedures and everything, you're like, you know what? Hey, I got 20 minutes. Let me run out a mission here, and then of course
Yeah,
you
exactly.
think it's only 20 minutes, and then you get it done in 15 or 20.
Yeah.
I'm going to do another one, and then you do another, and you keep
Yeah,
going until you die
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
And you can do the same here. Now, you were talking about the long, medium, and short range here. You
Hmm.
also, if they get into short range, it's bad because then you get into hand to hand with these guys. And that's
Yeah.
not something you want to do.
No, so yeah, once if you miss a shot at short range, then enemies jump into your zone where you are, where you're based, and close combat is performed. Um, if you lose a close combat, you're going to take a critical wound. So it's really kind of a if it gets to that stage, it's quite desperate. Um, so, and again, keep saying it, but it's quite abstracted. But if you survive the close combat, we imagine sort of that there was a bit of a scuffle, that a hostile found you laying there in the undergrowth, your spotter managed to sort of, put a knife in one of the guys, maybe used a pistol with a silencer on it to take out the other guy, and then you managed to scurry away, but there was still a couple of enemies left. So it's
Sure.
it's not sort of just because it says close combat. It's not like, yeah, this is a proper close combat. It could be a bit of a scuffle and a bit of an emergency. And it's the same with the enemy patrol phase in the game. If a patrol does find you, and you don't have the correct card to play, or you don't escape them, again, it's sort of abstract in the sense that there was a scuffle. You managed to kill a couple of the guys, and then get to safety before the rest of the patrol found you. So yeah, it's abstracted in that sense.
Yeah, you're not taking on an entire squad or platoon of
No, no,
hostiles. You're just taking out a couple enough to maybe get their head down enough to where you can beat feet out of the area
yeah,
and
yeah,
just extricate yourself from the situation and be a little safer. But I do like that fact that you have that. It's as they come in, as they're attacking, you miss them and then they start moving on you. They're trying to pinpoint your area. They don't know where you're at and they're moving in closer and closer. And then when you get into CQB, it's like, wow, this is just not good.
yeah,
This is not what
yeah,
we're built for.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you're and that's something that I think players might find as well, is that it can be addictive to think that, first of all, I want to survive the mission, but I also want to get through the mission without letting any enemies get into my zone, because a professional sniper shouldn't be getting into that situation. But obviously we know it's a game, but yeah, I've sort of had this almost OCD thing with it, where I want to complete these missions and not let enemies get into the short range box at all. Keep, because in the game there's suppress cards, so you can keep pushing them back. But if you push them back too much, so if I pushed an enemy back from medium to long, I'm also making the shot harder at the same time. So I would wait for enemies to get to short range and then push them back, if I have that card, to medium range, so the shot's not too hard.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the
Um,
things that, you were talking about Greg's games being an inspiration. One of the things that he does that's pretty cool is he has his Ken doll, as he calls it, the sheet that has your uniform and you put the different
yeah,
awards on, things like that.
yeah, that's great.
Did you think about doing anything like that outside of, I know you can, one of the other things I want you to talk about here, along with this, is the weapon upgrades, but did you think about anything like that where you can maybe get additional skills or additional awards to give you more XP or things like that, little extra boosts?
So yeah, I definitely thought about it, but I would say that World War II kill confirmed is definitely, you're definitely going to be going up the ranks and getting promoted and getting extra abilities. This sniper kill confirmed is more the sense that I'm going to earn kill points in the game. So basically, for every 5 enemies I kill, I get 1 kill point, and if I take out my target VIP, I get 4 kill points. And then I have to subtract how many wounds I've got at the end of the mission, and that leaves me with how many kill points I have after that mission. I can then use those kill points to upgrade weapons, and we go all the way up to the Barrett sniper rifle, and basically the more weapons you upgrade, the more sort of modifiers you're going to get. So the game works a lot on modifiers. So you're always going to have the wind against you, whether a target is moving or stationary, and you can sort of help yourself with those when upgrading weapons. So with the Barrett, you're going to get like a +3 dice roll modifier and things like
Wow.
that. Yeah,
Wow.
so
That's huge.
that's massive, and those,
Mhm.
if you play that with a bipod card in the game, you're really going to start taking enemies out easily.
Mhm.
But then it costs quite a few kill points to sort of buy that, so you're not going to be using that weapon straight away. It's going to take you a while to get there.
Mhm.
So yeah, I didn't want it to sort of be too sort of heavy on, well, I'm getting promoted to this, I'm getting promoted to that. I
Sure.
just wanted it purely almost not tunnel vision, but almost a vision of just, well, I'm a sniper, I've got a
Mhm.
spotter next to me, and if we get this mission done, then we then. So it's more focused on that gameplay, and not on I've been promoted to this.
Sure.
Not a career in the sense,
Sure.
like Greg's games do.
Now, you did mention the spotter. You can play with or without the spotter. Talk about that briefly as far as what that gives you in game.
Yeah, so the spotter, basically, when enemies come in, you get two chances to spot them, and your spotter's doing that role for you. Now, you might get lucky and get a tactical card where your spotter can automatically spot. Um, However, every time you take a wound, you make a 2d6 roll, and if it comes up a double six, your spotter's been killed. If your spotter's been killed, then you've got a -2 dice roll modifier on firing. So you've got that plus your range plus your wind, and you're really going to get in trouble because it's just you, the individual, then trying to spot targets. You haven't got a guy calling out where they are. So yeah, that's there are optional rules where you don't have to, if you want the game easy, you don't have to play making a roll to see if the spotter is killed. But again, personally, it builds that tension. Definitely, there's always a risk when we take a wound
Sure.
that our right hand guy has taken one and he's not with us anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's assisting in, all the things that spotters assist with, being able to identify a target, range it for you, things like that, as well as provide
Yeah.
security for you. So that does add, and that's a -2 is a huge loss.
Oh
That's
yeah.
a real big thing. And
Yeah.
anybody who's not played it may say, it's just -2. But
Yeah.
when you look at the other modifiers, they're cumulative. You get the wind and things like that, and range,
Yeah.
that it adds up real fast to where you won't hit.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make sure that they move in the medium range to have a better chance of hitting.
Yeah, exactly. Because at long range, you got a -2 for long range, and then the worst modifier you can get for wind is -3, and then if your spotter's dead, then you've got a -2 there.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you couldn't even take a shot at long
No.
range. So yeah, like you say, you want enemies to come in. You want them in the medium to short range is going to be easier, but it's still not easy. And that was another thing with the game sign. I wanted, basically you need a base of 7 to hit after all your modifiers, and I played around with that, thinking, well, base of 5, and I settled on a base of 7 because it creates that thing of it's not rock hard to get a kill, but once you do get a kill, you feel you've earned it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a good point, because everyone always thinks, "Oh, I got the sniper class. I'm, going to quick scope everybody, and everyone's going to get shot down, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
win everything." It's like, well, it is a good class to have when you're playing in like Call of Duty and things. But
Yeah.
in the real world, which is more along the lines of what you're trying to do in a very abstract way,
Yeah.
it's not as easy as you think. And even though
No,
you've
not at
got
all.
that time and everything to set up, it's still difficult to take into account everything else. Now, you could have tried to add in the math
Yeah.
on the bullet weight, the gun wear, and everything else.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
not a simulation. It's a game.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because through the design process, I did think to myself, well, I want it to be a bit detailed, but I don't want it to be a simulation, because to me that just gets to a point where I'm not having fun, and before you know it, you're trying to do mental maths and all sorts, and you can't work it out. So I think the taking the wind into effect and the fact that a target could be moving or stationary was enough to make
Sure.
the game, I would say, sometimes make the game frustrating. But I think players are going to sort of find the wind to be against you, or
Hmm.
sometimes you'll get lucky, you'll get a good roll, and if it's calm, you've got to take that opportunity to take out your targets.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and that wind, you know, could be against you, but then you're sort of taking into effect that your sniper is holding his breath, and he's trying to keep the scope still at the same time and take that shot. So it's just trying to show all these things that are happening before he pulls the trigger.
Yeah, it's tough to do that and keep it not a complex game. You don't want,
Yeah,
like you said, you wanted to make it approachable, easy to play, and I think you did a
yeah,
really good job with that here. So
Okay.
anybody who's curious about this game and has checked it out on Kickstarter, you
Yeah.
got a couple days left that you can still back it. And we did a learn to play that's on the channel. You can
Yeah.
check out so that way you can walk through the whole scenario that we did that Jay actually walked through. Now it's not all optimal strategies going on. It was more, let's talk mechanics. He was showing you the
That's right.
mechanics and
Yeah.
what can happen in different instances. But I think that'll give you a good understanding of how the game works as well. So, any last comments here for you as far as about Sniper Kill Confirmed and the
Yeah.
audience that you're trying to reach?
I mean, so first of all, I'd say thanks to everyone who has backed it on Kickstarter and anyone who has pre-ordered it. It's been a long road, but we're nearly there, and it's been great fun. And I think the, the design is a bit unique in the sense that there's not many sort of sniper games that come up. So I think if you want a game in your collection that's a bit unique and different from the norm, then I think this one will definitely fit the bill. And the other thing is I try to reply to as many messages as I can. But yeah, I do have a personal life, and sometimes I can't answer them all. But yeah, no, and thanks to Compass as well for believing in me and taking a shot at Sniper, because like I say, it was just an idea on 2 bits of A4 paper and some cards printed off. Yes, so I think players are gonna enjoy it once you get the game down. It's not
Mm-hmm.
a very hard game to learn, but I would say it's not easy to master either. So
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah. Hopefully, I think people are gonna really like it, and like I say, the World War II stuff will be on the way.
All right. Well, looking forward to that and seeing what else you got cooking up in that brain of yours because you've got some fun games here. This one is really fun as well. And I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to seeing it out in the wild and seeing what everybody's AARs are after playing it and the stories that are generated from it. But once again, Jay, really appreciate you staying up late and doing this interview. Like I said, I wanted to keep it as short as possible because
yeah,
it's
sure.
really late and you want to get some sleep.
Yeah, sure.
So thanks again for stopping in here today and talking about your game and congratulations for being on Kickstarter, and really soon it'll be out there in the wild.
Yeah, thanks, Mo. Thanks for having me. And like you say, it's super late, but any excuse to talk about the game, and I'm here. So yeah, and yeah, sorry for the dog noises. It's a little bit
No,
frustrating, but
no, that's great.
there we go. Yeah,
Well,
thanks, Mo.
yeah, no, thank you, and thanks everybody for tuning in and checking out the interview. And like I said, a couple days left on Kickstarter, so go check it out. The link is down below.